and welcome to the BSM panel discussion. Today we have an opportunity to speak with three experts in the world of BSM about the world of BSM, where it's heading in the future, what customers are doing today with it, and to also take a look at some case studies and talk about some successes. My name is Jim Murphy. I'm a director with Vivid Worldwide. I'm on the board of directors, and I run the Cloud Builders Special Interest Group. So if you ever want to chat about cloud building, give me a holler. Today we have three panelists with us. We're very fortunate to have, and I'm going to start at the bottom and kind of build up like a pyramid. We have Ashish Kufalia. He's Chief Marketing Officer for BSM with HP Software. He brings over 20 years of experience in the software industry, and he and I were catching up earlier. We've got some common background, and he's got a lot of knowledge he's going to be bringing and sharing with us today. Mark Laird is a technical architect with the IMSL group. I can tell you he's put together a really unique solution for his customers in the world of BSM, and he'll be sharing with us some of his experience and some of his customer success stories today. And then we've got Eli Ilal. He is the team leader at Playtech, and this is a gaming company, and very high-tech kind of gaming companies that make a lot of use of monitoring technologies to make sure that all the players out there are having a great time. Okay, we're live, and the session's being recorded. Once we wrap up, we'll make the recordings available to all of you, and you can go ahead and download it and listen to the recordings and catch up on the latest with BSM. At the end, and actually about 40 minutes past the hour, we're going to open up the lines. You'll be able to ask Ashish and Mark and Ellie questions, and so we'll be able, if you've brought questions, stick on the line. Once we get to that part of the webinar, you'll be able to get your questions answered. For the webinar control panel, if you've got it up, and you're planning to use the voice system on the webinar, there's a little bit of instruction here. You can toggle and mute your speaker, and if you've got questions, and for the questions part of the webinar, you'll see there's a question box right there toward the bottom, and that's where you'll type in your questions. As they'll go into the moderator, and then the questions will be forwarded to myself and the panelists, and we'll take some topics to discuss and answer questions. Okay. Okay, HP Business Service Management. That's what we're talking about today. And what I'm going to do now is turn this over to Ashish, the Chief Marketing Officer for BSM at Hewlett-Packard. Thank you for joining us, Ashish.
Thank you very much, Jim. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone who's joined. We're very fortunate here to have Ellie and Mark join us as two BSM customers. I want to start the session off by just giving a quick overview of what HP Business Service Management, or also known as BSM, is, what is our offering, and how do we help our customers. So, I think, not to make a point redundant, but all of us today know that IT and its evolution is rapidly accelerating. We have hybrid environments, different kinds of virtual fabrics, private clouds, software-driven networks, etc. Along with this, is also an explosion of a lot of unstructured data. Today in the enterprise, we have transactional data, we have social media, text, email, IT operations data, and so on and so forth. And we are all overwhelmed by it. We are all in the midst of this gigantic storm. It's estimated that about 4 zettabytes, that's zettabytes with a Z, data is being produced every day as we go around doing our work personally and at work. So what does this mean? For IT operation folks, this means a lot of complexity. Not only do you have to manage what you create and you run, but there are so many in-house custom apps and unknown, systems under desks and shadow IT projects and outsourced projects that no matter what, whether you own it or not, if something goes wrong, you have the responsibility to get it fixed and get it fixed really quick, because any downtime results in a lot of revenue downtime for your business. Next slide, please. So essentially, there is a new style of IT out there today. There are new challenges. I talked a little bit about this, but there's elastic, shared, hybrid on-demand infrastructures that are mushrooming everywhere. There's a lot of proliferation and adoption of mobile applications. There's an emphasis and a need to be collaborative and to deliver continuous, applications, continuous delivery, and work within the world of DevOps. And you have to do this in real time. And you have to manage all of this in real time. You have to have the right context to be able to solve the right problem at the right time. Next slide, please. And so, for this new style of IT, how do you ensure business performance? It's a complex world like we just outlined. And at the very basic, as I talk to customers and I, interact with a lot of prospects, almost everybody, is doing some sort of monitoring across their infrastructure and applications. Everybody has one tool or the other to manage their network or their storage or their servers. You need to be able to manage this in a very unified manner, to be able to, put this together on top of each other to make any sense out of it. You need to be able to see whether the systems are red or green or yellow and what you can do about it. So if you look at this particular chart, this is almost like a thematic maturity curve that most of our customers go through, where at least they do some sort of monitoring on their systems to make sure they're up or down. And as they start to get a handle on this, they start to manage the end user experience, because at the end of the day, your customer is king, and he's the one who, or he or she's the one who determines whether they're getting the appropriate business services from you or not. And this user experience must be managed really carefully and proactively end to end, right? And then when, IT operations has some sort of maturity here, they typically, look around and they find that they're using a number of different tools, a number of different teams are managing this. And they attempt to kind of bring it together. When a problem goes, when a problem happens, typically, as we all know, there are a number of teams talking to each other. The advent of war rooms, there are emails flying around, conference calls going around to fix a problem that has just happened and is affecting revenues. So they try to move towards a single pane of glass and, try to bring in a manager of managers. This is where, we talk about the concept of operations bridge. And finally, if organizations have been, already at that maturity curve, they typically are now addressing the problem of this big data, explosion that we just talked about. There is just so much data out in the ecosystem. If you're not paying attention to this, you're losing invaluable data that you can use to manage your business. How do you do this? How do you harness? How do you store? How do you analyze? And how do you use this data to eliminate these, perfect storms? When they happen big. There's the classic example that you're all familiar with the Obamacare government website that, had years of planning behind it, had months of work behind it, lots of great technologists. But when the site went up, only 6 people could register in the first 2 months. They just didn't know where to start to solve this problem. That's very common in businesses these days. So how do you solve that problem? We'll talk about the concept of a time machine that allows you to look backwards, look currently where you are, and look forward to, eliminate these perfect storms. Let's start with unified monitoring. HBBSM provides you an end-to-end across systems, network, storage, and applications, what we call a 3D IMAX experience in looking at your infrastructure. What I mean by that is, all of you have probably experienced the IMAX theater. It's wide, it's huge, and it gives you really deep insight and a high-resolution insight into, the little details that matter. And so, using BSM monitoring technology, we provide you complete monitoring of these dynamic infrastructures that you're managing. It gives you in a single pane of glass real-time performance, configuration, and compliance. And most importantly, this is dynamic and real-time. These file discovery engines that are behind the monitoring capability ensure that if there's any change that happens at any point of time in your entire infrastructure, it's immediately known. Versus some solutions out there that only do periodic sweeps around the infrastructure and can only update this every 2 hours or 24 hours. You do not want to be caught in between these two monitoring cycles. Next slide, please. Yes. So end user management, experience management. Your applications really are your new sources of revenue into your businesses today. And if you look at anything as simple as Netflix, you look at Amazon, you no longer go to a store to actually perform a business transaction. More and more, your competition is just a click away. So you need to manage your applications. You need to manage them, whether they're mobile applications, on-premise applications, and you need to do it both from the end user experience perspective. What is the user actually experiencing when they're actually using your applications? You do not want calls coming onto your help desks and saying, I am unable to log in, I'm unable to conduct the business transaction. You want to know it before the users know it. So you need to monitor both your infrastructure underlying that application so that you know if something is going wrong, and you need to know it from the end user perspective. So, we provide this VIP experience for your applications. We provide the ability for you to be able to visualize what your application topology looks like and what infrastructure supports it. And if there's a problem, quickly isolate that problem anywhere in the infrastructure stack. And then also, we have predictive capabilities, measuring the baselines of, your seasonality of your trends and, your metrics. You're able to kind of start to build a baseline that lets you predict when an anomaly occurs, and, you're quickly able to detect that issue before an application performance actually happens, performance degradation actually happens. Next slide, please. And then we talked about the concept of, manager of managers. Operations Bridge is the solution we offer. When you do have a problem, we talked about the fact that you don't want to deal with war rooms. You want collaborative teams working from a single pane of glass, working on the same events. There's correlation across these events, and you're quickly able to determine the root cause from a single pane of glass. So, you should be able to aggregate these events, correlate them, be able to boil them down to the 5, 6, 7 events that really matter, and be able to control them and be able to work across your team. So, we call this acting fast on the right issues to solve the business problems that you're facing. And, we'll talk a little bit more, but, the concepts of gamification and automation have been introduced in the Operations Bridge HPBSM solution. The idea here is to encourage more user adoption so that people are exploring all the right areas of the software to be able to solve the right problem, as well as have a lot of collaboration going on efficiently between the teams. We provide management cockpits for big data platforms from the Operations Bridge, so you can start to manage these big data platforms that every business has to deal with right now. Finally, you may be at your desk, you may be having lunch, you may be having a dinner at home, but your IT infrastructure needs to run 24/7, 365 days a year. So as you're not at your desk, you need to be able to get the right alerts, get the right events, get the right notifications, and be able to solve your problem anywhere you are at any time. And so, we are making our solutions available on all mobile platforms, so you're not tied to your desk. Next slide, please. Right. Let's talk about big data analytics. We talked about the fact that, things go wrong. And when they go wrong, the demand of the business is to get it up and running really, really fast. Typically in the past, and even today, what happens is people collect data sets for known problems and have been doing that historically. And so when something goes wrong, they immediately start looking at known problems, known data sets, and trying to determine what went wrong so that it can be quickly brought back into production and be up and running. But in reality, there's a lot of data out there which is in unstructured data, structured data, social context, and all of these give you indications of what's going wrong. And what we have introduced recently is a new big data analytics platform called HP Operations Analytics that lets you collect, store, and analyze both structured and machine data into a single repository. This is based on our Vertica platform, which is a columnar-based database. You can throw everything in there, and you can, storing it is one thing, but the ability to consume it really fast and to be able to do analytics on that really fast in real time is key to this, product. If anything is to go wrong through this dashboard that you see for Operation Analytics, you're quickly able to, replay history to create events and pinpoint failures. As you look at this screenshot, it is very customizable to the persona that's managing this, data center or this IT infrastructure. And you can have the right graphs built on topology based on the application that you're monitoring. And it shows you the status, red, yellow, or green. And if you start to see something green, red, you're quickly able to literally play back the history by the timeline and dragging it back. Think about a DVR technology, digital video recorder technology like TiVo, and quickly drag it back until your graphs turn green. And in real time, it's correlating all the data sets that you've collected across events, logs, structured, unstructured data, and correlating it to that particular event or that particular failure. And as you reach the point that you're able to figure out this is where something went wrong, we provide you a very fast search engine. Think about Google for IT that lets you pinpoint and quickly get to the 4, 5, 6 events or log entries that will really give you a idea of where the problem is, and you can fix it and move on. Now, in retrospect, you can come back and make sure that it doesn't happen again. But the idea here is as soon as your service goes down, you want it up and running. You're learning from past behavior patterns, and you're able to also predict outcomes and optimize the detection of these as you move forward. This is powered by the new HP Haven technology, the big data platform that HP has introduced, and this is an application that runs on top of it. Slide, please. So, I would like to turn it over here to Mark Laird, who is from Steria, and he's the technical architect for the IMSL group. And he's been using some of our technologies, and I'd like really to welcome him and say a few words about how he's leveraging the BSM technology in his world.
Thank you very much, Ashish. Thank you for that welcome. Next slide, please, Jim. So Steria has been using BSM now for a number of years. We use it internally. We use it for our customers. And this particular slide we've got here is actually from one of our internal deployments. It's monitoring, it's actually now monitoring 14 applications. We have a whole range of locations. We've actually got nearly 30 probes out. And it was actually funded internally initially. And we've had an organic growth. Again, we weren't going out to sort of push the product out before it was ready to be used. But we've actually found people actually coming back to us and saying, please, we'd like more information. And the key reason for that is that it's actually allowed us to diagnose root cause very much faster. It allows our internal teams to see performance. They can identify the correct team, such as network or applications. And it gives them the impact analysis of problems, a much more visual approach. Next slide, Jim. So key benefits for us. It's a single platform for the applications performance management, regardless of whether it's we're using internal systems, whether we're using external SaaS-based solutions, and regardless of where the service is being provided from. We've got less people involved in the triage, and we're actually getting a better application experience across all of our countries. So, I mean, for us, it's reduced our cost of deployment. We've actually had a sort of 50% reduction in deployment cost, and we've got a better internal integration now between our various testing teams. And as the next slide shows, Jim, what we've actually found is that over the last year, and this is actually a screenshot taken from one of our internal internal reports, we've actually been able to show to the business that we've had a more than a 30% improvement in our user experience time. And that really is driven through us being able to diagnose faults, diagnose problems using BSM, but then actually be able to go back to the business at the end of the year and say, yes, and we've made some changes, and we can prove that those changes have actually had a significant improvement in the end user experience. I'm going to hand it over to Ellie. Ellie is from Playtech. So Ellie, over to you.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, so let me tell you my story about Playtech. Playtech is a gaming platform provider. We provide all the gaming, online gaming for our customers, our business customers, that provides to the end users the ability to play and bet online. Next slide. We've had BSM and monitoring with the HP products for more than 3 years now. BSM for us is not just a monitoring application. It's basically a manager of managers that actually takes every event or every graph or every KPI from other monitoring systems like Operation Manager, SiteScope, and NNM, Network Node Manager. It provides us with the ability to see in one console all the events, everything that is happening in each of our sites. Also, we have USINDB, which collects all the topology information from all the infrastructure that we have all over the world, and getting all of them together into one place actually gives us the ability to get a true picture of what is going on, where is the problem, what is the problem, and everything comes into the OMI, which is our main monitoring console. Just to give you an idea of what we have of deployments, we have 30 data centers, and the monitoring is on 300 customers worldwide. We have agent-based monitoring, which we have approximately 5,000 agents that are deployed, and we are using almost 6,000 agent metrics to be monitored at the same time. Just imagine how much monitoring and how much capabilities we are using with different systems, and everything comes into one place. Next slide. With all of these technologies that was provided with HP BSM, we also put on the Service Health Analyzer, which actually helped us to increase the amount of fault detection and to be able to get the ability to predict, get some prediction about our business usage. And by that, we actually increased our fault detection by 66%. We started actually with our 3 years ago with the Nagios, which was really something really small and with not a lot of capabilities to what Playtech needed at the time. And the more we grew up, and the more we deployed more sites in more places around the world, we needed something a bit more scalable with all the abilities. Based on SHA, we also provided with the business metrics monitoring that actually increased the fault detection to even places that we couldn't have detected before, such as our external vendors that we depend on, and all the network that we are also depending on for our business. Also, because of all the vast monitoring that we are doing with all the technologies, agent-based or agentless, we were able to reduce the downtime in 50% and maybe even more due to the accuracy and fast reaction that is all coming from one console, one place, one point of contact from infrastructure, business, and performance in one BSM console. Next slide. one simple example is how we know that we have a problem using SHA, Service Health Analyzer, is by using the statistical capabilities to actually know what should be every day, every hour, every minute of with our business metrics. For example, how do we know that the number of logins to our environment should be, and where there is a problem. And in a way, it helps us to actually know, even without having the ability to see it from the infrastructure side, that we have a deep impact on our system, on our business, and to actually see what problems do we have and where do we have it, which customer has this issue, and we actually find this capability in faster detection. And now, instead of our customers telling us, and believe me, the customers, they're using the system day in and day out, and they are the most proactive monitoring that there can be. With SHA, we actually find ourselves telling our customers that yes, we have a problem, we know about it, and we are handling it even before it actually becomes a real issue and a downtime. Next slide. Okay, going back to you, Jim.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Ellie. So we've had one question come in already, and well, first of all, before we have questions, we'll have a couple of questions for our panelists. Ashish, can you give us an overview of the future of the BSM software suite? What do you see happening in the next couple of years?
Thank you, Jim. So, I think I alluded to it, when we talked about, when I presented the BSM overview. But, we see the world more and more moving towards, mobile-driven applications, an explosion of big data, and an openness and, in the architecture where, different technologies are coming together to bring the user experience that, IT operations teams need to manage. At the end of the day, what matters is the user experience that you provide to your end users, because, they essentially drive your revenues. And in the world of, instant gratification, in the world of, everything should be up and running, you need to make sure very proactively that you are providing these services and then keeping them green and keeping them up and running. We are all familiar with the fact that, if you're using our mobile devices or an application on our website, on our web browsers, if something doesn't respond, within 3 seconds, 5 seconds, we tend to just switch. So as business service providers, it is absolutely essential that, we are on top of this. So as we look more and more towards this, it doesn't matter what tools you use to monitor your applications, the data that's being generated around in your ecosystem, right, is a major tool to use, leverage, not just to improve and deliver on better business services, but to actually become an equal partner and advisor to your, business side of the house on how we can optimize, how we can, improve on the business services we provide, how do we drive more revenue. So in that sense, we really need to leverage that. And we talked, briefly about big data analytics. This, platform, this approach, and the investment we are really making into this is an attempt to, leverage all the structured and unstructured data and remove the blind spots that, often we have when we don't look at the, data out there in the ecosystem. It's estimated that most IT teams only leverage about 10% of the data there. And if you're not paying attention, there's so much richness in that you want to be proactively managing that, and you want to take better decisions. You want to have a better, smarter, active, and collaborative IT infrastructure, and the team that's managing this to be, to deliver the best business service you can. So we are investing a lot in those capabilities. We're investing a lot in putting together the tools into a single pane of glass, adding analytics to it, and you stay tuned to hear more.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. So I'm going to kind of intersperse our discussions with questions from the audience, because we've already had some questions start to come in. So the first question is from Debbie Smith, and she asks, how do you describe UCMDB and business value. So how do we take a look? I guess this is looking at one particular product, and how do we communicate the business value for UCMDB? You want to start with that one, Ashish, or?
Yeah, sure. I can talk. Yeah, go ahead, Ellie.
Oh, Mark.
Can I,
or Ellie?
From my experience, UCMDB is actually can be turned into the basic of all your monitoring system, not just by discovery of what you had and what you don't. And I can give you lots of examples of organizations that actually don't know what they really have in their IT and data center. And just to make your business more efficient and to know that you're not spending all your money on things that you already have, and all the electricity that is running for servers that you don't use. But other than this, just imagine that you can actually, with UCMDB, generate a picture of your service. And with this picture of your service, if something goes wrong and you have an event or a status change from your monitoring system, it actually pinpoints where it is and what is the impact of inside your business service. If it's a low impact, because you have load balancer and it's on high availability, you can also prioritize your event and create something that you can adjust yourself what to take care of first. So if it's a low priority event that comes in high availability system, then you can prioritize it as low. And if it's a business impact, major business impact event that comes in and actually create your business service topology and dials it into red, then you can actually know that you have a really big event that impacts your business. So creating the monitoring on top of your UCMDB discovery, which actually you don't need to do once you have it all discovered and you have it automatically discovered. Any change that you actually do is automatically also updates your service tree. If you add another server to your service, it will be added automatically. You have monitoring it on it, and you have status for it if it's green or red or yellow. With UCMDB, you can actually have a view not only of events or just statuses, but also to your service. You then can also start building your SLA when the top of the tree is your main service, and you can, by the events or by the statuses of the topology that was discovered by UCMDB below, you can actually say how much time I was up or down, or how can I calculate my SLA. So this is from where I stand, how I see it, and for us it's working really great, and we are using it on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. And about how many, we know about your data centers, about how many applications do you have mapped out?
Oh, just imagine every customer that we have has about 60 different applications that we have. So we have something like 4,000 applications that we actually know where they are on which server, and server where it is located, or to which application which customer is attached to it. And if there are several small brands, small customers that are configured into one big customer, we also know about it. And so if we know that there is a problem with one brand, or we know it's a site event that actually impacts all the customers on the same site, from this map we know everything. All of our infrastructure, the number of servers that I told before, 4,900 servers, almost 5,000 applications, all are mapped into the UCMDB. Everything is synced to the BSM also, so we actually gather everything together into one place. And this is the best part of it, that you can actually see where your impact is.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Well, I hope that answers the question. Okay, next question is, another question has come in. And this one's from Arif, and I can't read the rest of the name, but I don't know, Mark or Ashish, perhaps you could elaborate more on Haven, the Haven technology that HP is embedding in their products now in the BSM suite.
Yeah, absolutely, I can do that. This is Ashish.
Okay.
So Haven is the HP platform for big data that we talked about it, right? So as we know, there's a big transformation happening out in the marketplace, and big data is becoming a big concern for everybody. So HP's Haven platform brings together everything you need to harness and profit from big data, right? This encompasses hardware, software, services, and the business transformation consulting. The acronyms themselves, stand for the technology components. So H is Hadoop, right, where HP has an open strategy to support all leading Hadoop distributions. A stands for the Autonomy Idle Engine, which allows you, seamless access to 100% of the enterprise data that you have, whether it's human-generated or machine-generated. Vertica is that, database that I talked about. It's massively scalable, and it's really custom-built for real-time analytics on peta-sized data sets, right? It supports standard SQL and R-based analytics as well, and really offers support for all the leading BI and ETL vendors. E stands for enterprise security that we provide to our ArcSight technology, providing real-time collection and analysis of logs and security events, and leverages big data. And N really stands for the applications that have been built on top of this, N applications, right? And there are many use cases of how the applications are being built on top of this. For example, I talked about operation analytics. There's sentimental analysis. There's cybersecurity, targeted advertising, capacity planning. So I would encourage those who would like to learn more about this to go to www.hp.com/haven.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to give Mark a chance to share some of his thoughts. I know you're actually working with a number of your customers, providing monitoring for them. What are some of the common pain points that you see in your customer base, and how does the BSM tool address them?
Oh, thank you, Jim. A really interesting question. And I think it's been borne out in some of the answers that you've already heard from some of the other presenters. The key ones for us probably fall into 3 areas. Firstly, the inability to diagnose faults when they occur. Actually being able to take a fault and understand who it's affecting, what it's affecting, and more importantly, what it might be caused by. So that's a key pain point. Second one really is, now that we're getting into this mobile world, we're getting into a mix of applications. We've got on-premise legacy code, we've got in-house developed code, we've got off-the-shelf applications, and much more commonly these days we're seeing a lot more SaaS-based solutions. BSM gives you the ability to pretty much monitor all of those, single platform, single interface, a single common view. And the third one really for us was, and for our customers, is where actually the users are ringing the service desks before the IT department actually know there's a problem, because they're looking at it very much from an infrastructure application sort of bottom-up view. BSM gives you that top-down, it gives you the end-user experience. It actually gives you very much more representative information or detail from the user's perspective. So what you see there is what you're actually delivering out to a user, the services that are actually being delivered. So those are the real key pain points that we see. That's what we get, the information we get in from our customers. And for some of them, we have customers where the BSM, the end user monitoring, is pretty much all they're interested in, because it's what the service levels are based on. They don't really care what the IT is doing, so long as it delivers to the desktop and delivers the services that the users want.
Well, that's helpful. That gives a lot of insight. And if you can relate to some of those stories, and Mark is available to probably talk more about that if you're interested. Okay, next question is for Ellie, and it comes from Courtney. And what types of CIs are being tracked in your SHA systems? Synthetic, real transactions, server CIs, both? What kinds of, I guess, how do you define what the CIs are and how are they tracked?
We're talking about SHA?
Yeah, that's what it, yeah, it
Okay.
says, what types of CIs are being tracked in your SHA systems? Synthetic, real transactions, or server CIs?
Okay, so basically neither. What we wanted to do with SHA is not to monitor the host operating system metrics. We have monitoring for OS metrics and KPIs. For now, we are leaving them with static threshold, but we decided to actually go and turn the SHA into something more business-oriented and to actually use the business CIs for our SHA. So we are adding, from SiteScope, we are collecting all the information about our business usage. And we are in the gaming environment, so how many players do we have? How many logins every 5 minutes? How many games are being played? And with SHA, using these metrics per service, per customer. This is a business metric. This is a business metric and business CIs as well. So we collect the information on the business CIs and all the metrics on the business CIs. And with SHA, we monitor the CIs as business. So if we have a problem with any of our customers, the business CI, which has several, it's about 10 metrics that is monitored simultaneously. If any of these metrics are being out of their baseline, the baseline is being breached, then we have knowledge about something that goes wrong with our customer. We actually know exactly which customer having a problem. Once we have this, we can also correlate it to other events that are coming in from our infrastructure. So we actually have an idea where it is, which customer is being impacted because we're using the business CI. And then from the events of infrastructure, we know exactly what is going on and where we want to search our problem. If it's not from the infrastructure, we actually have an idea that if we cannot correlate to any of these the infrastructure monitoring, we actually know instantaneously. We actually know that, that there's a problem with our external vendors that we cannot monitor anyway. So we start with that, with this. So the business CI are what we have in mind when we are monitoring with SHA, and it actually brings us a lot of insight, not only for monitoring but also for knowledge about our business and how it behaves. So a lot of our customers who actually see the business metrics that are being monitored by the BSM are actually excited to have an idea not only about the data that is the raw data that is being collected, but also about the knowledge of the baseline. They can actually know and know how their environment is working and what is expected out of it. So it's quite exciting to do it on the business CIs.
Yeah, that approach sounds really good, because then if you're going to display information or take a look at it, you get a business perspective. And I know for a lot of the customers I work with, we find ourselves in front of the line of business owners almost as often as we find ourselves in front of IT anymore. And they really want to see that they want to know their business is up and running, and it sounds like you've got that perspective as well.
Exactly, that's the idea.
Yeah. The next question is I'm going to send over to Mark, and there's a question that came up about using dashboards and the ability to display them on the wall, and I've seen this. You've probably seen it many times. And what do you know, Mark, about providing a large-scale dashboard for a customer, and how are they using them, and how do they get the? Do you have any tips getting the dashboard up on the wall to look great?
Very, very interesting question, Jim. Interesting answers, I suppose. So with it, part of it's going to depend on versions of software. So with what I would call the older versions of BSM, probably the easiest, the best way of getting the really good-looking dashboard. We used the custom dashboards. We were able to build them to meet what we wanted, which was very much the services by location. Made it very, very easy for our monitoring teams and our internal teams to sort of exactly see where the problems were. With the new versions of BSM, so BSM 9.2, 9.2.3, there's some really, really clever new dashboards involved. Things like transactions by location. You're getting a lot more information displayed in a single dashboard. There's a lot less time to create the dashboards. They're actually out of the box. So what we've seen with the new products coming out with HP is that there's a lot more thought being put into actually how do people want to use the tools, how do people want to get information out of the tools. So for us, I mean, there's probably two or three key areas. Firstly, there's some really clever stuff now in the tools in terms of pre-built dashboards. Some of them are really, really clever. There's lots of information being displayed in a single place. It's really easy to use. We've done a lot of internal education with some of our technical teams and our business teams. And the second one is really using the user reports. So we do a lot of reporting around service level management and system performance and availability. You can build those reports out really to suit what your customers need. You're storing them as templates, and then you're just running those reports on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis and sending out the same information out to customers in a nice standard format. That's what we use. Those are our sort of two key ways of getting information out of the solution in a really, really customer-friendly, customer-focused fashion.
Yeah, and so the custom dashboards sound very flexible and sound like you can get some very sharp graphics up there. Another thought I had is, as you were talking, if there's folks trying to get displays up on the wall, even if you're running under VMware, a lot of the VMware will go back and actually take a look at the physical video drivers in some cases. So another place to look if you're not getting the sharpest graphics on the wall is to check the video drivers you're using and make sure all those align well to give you a higher resolution and a sharper picture. Okay, let's just kind of, here's an interesting question, and I don't know if Ashish could share this with us, but are there any plans for BSM on-box model? And this comes from the Sri, and I'm not sure exactly what that means, but it sounds like almost like a BSM appliance type scenario. Any thoughts on that, Ashish?
Yeah, so Jim, unfortunately I cannot comment on roadmap kind of questions in this forum.
Okay.
But we do look across the industry. We do look at the best practices and get input from our customers. So we're looking at possibilities like this, but I cannot specifically comment on what we might deliver at what point of time, unfortunately, due to revenue recognition rules.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm familiar with that, but someday it could be. I mean, folks have talked about appliance server technology is really advancing these days, and someday it could come to pass. Right. A lot of this technology is screwed into the rack, and it interacts with the server elements and takes it pretty far down the road by itself. But that would be maybe our kids will play with that, right?
Yep.
Okay. For now, all of us must roll up our sleeves and make this work, which is good. Okay. Scrolling through the questions real quickly, I think we've covered, looking to see if any new ones have come in. Well, this is a good one for Ellie. What was your approach to deployment? Did you take a stepped approach to implementing the products one at a time, or did you go for a big bang? In other words, get everything implemented and then throw a switch and say, okay, we're live?
Okay, so actually we did a big bang. We wanted to have everything working together, everything synchronized. So we actually started from nothing and built the operation manager, which is the agent-based monitoring. We knew what we were going to do with it and how we were going to monitor all of the servers and infrastructure with it. In the same time, we started with site scopes, which provided us with agent-less monitoring and gave us all the ability to monitor our services from the outside in, and to get a good view of what is the status from our end users perspective, and then to get everything just working on the same console. Then you have to have the BSM to give you the right perspective. So we, at the same time, again, we installed the BSM and actually got it all working together with UCMDB, as I said before. And when we switched on the lights, and it actually started singing together magically. And when everything comes together, you actually get a quite good idea of how it works and where everything is coming from and what to do. Also, because of the abilities of the dashboards, like Mark said, the BSM has a vast availability to show different dashboard and different pages and different components in the same page or different page, so you can actually control it. So for us, the Big Bang actually worked quite well.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, and it really, I think it depends upon your culture a little bit. You know, if your organization is ready to make that kind of a commitment and up to speed to make that change, then that's okay. But if you have a kind of organization where you want to kind of roll it out little by little and get folks up to speed, then you know, it's really up to the organization. Okay, well. Yeah. I'm going to move on here. We're going to talk a little bit about, we've got a link here in the presentation for additional content and white papers. Boy, there's a lot that's being published out by HP today. They've really started to push out a lot of good information about how to use these products and best practices in them. And so please take advantage of that. Don't forget, we've got HP Discover in Las Vegas. You know, we would like all of our Vivint members, as many as possible, to come to Las Vegas and see us at the Vivint booth. Every year we always try to be about, we're always about having some fun at the show. So please, if you've got interest, there's a $300 savings coupon right here for you. Just enter the code SWVivit and you can get $300 off. And we would love to see you in Las Vegas. It's a great time, a great opportunity to work with and hang out with your peers, get really hard questions answered, and it's a great time. And with that, and then the BSM presence at HP Discover. Ashish, do you want to talk about this for a minute?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jim. So I think we're headed to a really exciting BSM presence at HP Discover this summer in Las Vegas. You know, just a simplified snapshot of it. We have 15 plus technical and business breakouts where, you know, different folks will speak about their BSM experience, as well as some, you know, deep dive technical presentations. Among the customers, you know, the ones who have confirmed at this point are listed on the right. We have some great, exciting customers, you know, in their use cases that they will come and talk about. And it's always great to hear from other customers, you know, what are they doing with it, and get an opportunity to talk with them about it. Some of the interesting things that we'll also be, you know, talking about are the BSM maturity model. You know, where do you start, or if you've started, you know, what's the journey to the nirvana state, you know, for BSM? So we have customers, you know, at all stages, and this is usually a very, very popular topic, and you know, you can really network and learn from your peers. We have a couple of analysts, industry analysts joining us, and they'll talk about the innovation in the next generation IT ops. They will lead a couple of roundtables. There's also a presentation on the specific strategy and roadmap for BSM moving forward. So, in addition to that, a hands-on lab where you'll actually be able to play with some of the technologies that you haven't yet, looked at, and look at a number of, demo theaters and different, BSM products as well. So, highly encourage all of you to, take a look at this carefully. If you have a question, you can always send it to me. It's my last name at hp.com. Kutyal@hp.com, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that might be related to Discover or BSM otherwise. Thank you, Jim.
Okay, thank you, Ashish. And then finally, some news. HP Software Americas has the Award of Excellence. If you have would like to make a nomination, you have until March 31st, the end of the month. You can see you get complimentary tickets to HP Discover in Las Vegas if you win, and get a lot of attention. It's good. And then you can visit the HP IT Experts community and forums and blogs. And then there's some upcoming online expert days. So if you've got more questions that we didn't get to today, you can follow that link and connect up with the experts and hopefully get some of your additional questions answered.
Right. I'd like to add to that, Jim, and say that, in the last few months, we have really started participating very strongly in our communities and blogs. The traffic, in fact, has gone up 5 to 6-fold. So there's a lot of interaction happening there. Our core product managers, technical marketing, technical, R&D experts, they're all participating and answering questions and putting their points of view forth. And, I'd encourage everybody to, go visit, our forums and our blogs and, get a lot of your questions answered, but also to learn, what others are saying.
Yeah, I think, it's a very beneficial, and it's great to see those picking up. I think that it's definitely the way we're going to be collaborating a lot more that way in the near future.
Absolutely.
And then that's it. There's a short survey that if you opt in and you can get some more information from HP, but please take the survey and give us feedback on the webinar. We really appreciate everybody making time to spend with us today, and we hope that you found all this information beneficial and the conversation beneficial, and we look forward to seeing you at HP Discover. So with that, we'll sign out. Thank you very much for attending.